to. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Speaking with the Sage. This episode right here, I'm gonna really like this one because so far we've had a lot of male principals come on here, and a male principal in an area where it's normally actually women that represent this area, but men should also do it too. So in this episode of Speaking with the Sage, with your host Jacqueline and Empress Yamaya, we are welcoming a master teacher in yoga. His
Wellness.
name's, yes, exactly.
He's got a whole bunch of things.
A whole bunch. And his name is Yirser Ra Hotep. Asheo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us.
To seeing and hearing about your knowledge in this field, because you have expansive knowledge for years, and definitely really wanting to share this with the community as well. So Yirser Ra Hotep, will you please tell the audience, who are you? Who is Yirser Ra Hotep?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I had to think about that because I've been around for a little while, so I've gone through a lot of different incarnations. But I'm an African man from Chicago. I'm born and raised in Chicago. I live in Chicago. I guess you could say I'm somebody who's dedicated to the liberation of African people, and I use the area of the field of health, wellness, Kemetic Yoga, stress management, raising consciousness through meditation, and just becoming aware of our history and who we really are, and really trying to go through, really trying to help people go through an internal journey of self-discovery. And so for close to the last 50 years, I've been teaching this system called Kemetic Yoga. Folks, so Kemetic Yoga, it comes out of Chicago. We were the first ones in the country to start doing something called Kemetic Yoga, which is a term that we coined here, referring to the specific system of yoga that we started to develop based upon our research, right? And so, just to give you some more background about myself, I have a lot of education in terms of the formal education. So I have a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Illinois at Chicago. I have a master's degree from Northeastern Illinois Center for Inner City Studies, where I studied with some luminary African-centered scholars such as Jacob Carruthers, John G. Jackson, Anderson Thompson, Red World, like that. I also have a master's degree from the University of Chicago in social service administration. So I worked as a social worker. I worked as in many capacities as a social worker and a therapist, from child welfare to substance abuse to child development. Most of the experiences that I had, I incorporated holistic health and Kemetic Yoga principles into my practice and working with people. Everything I did in the social service area was non-traditional. So I would incorporate yoga, meditation, breathing, nutrition, health principles, changing your diet, eating right, as part of the therapeutic process. I worked as a director of programs for a for group homes. So I work with group homes who specialize in boys with behavior disorders, and so we work with them. We worked in that situation, and we employed holistic principles to help these young men to overcome the various psychological and psycho-emotional issues that they were going through. I worked in the child welfare at the state of Illinois in the Department of Children and Family Services. I worked as both a worker and then an administrator for the state of Illinois.
Okay.
And in that capacity, I gained a lot of experience.
Yes.
I've done some of everything in terms of working with court systems, working with the education, the so-called educational system, this educational system, the medical system. I worked with just about every capacity. I worked with people with HIV and AIDS. I worked with people with substance abuse issues, mental health issues. And again, in all the situations that I've been in, I've always employed holistic health principles. The other thing that I would say is significant that I have a lot of experience working with children. So we created programs where we work with children from 0 to 18, okay? And always employing yoga, holistic health, meditation, teaching young people what we call ISR, which means internal self-regulation. And our goal was always to try to help young people to to be able to control their own thoughts, their own emotions, their own behavior, rather than having to have some outside force, to give it to them or to force them into a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a mouthful.
Exactly. Like for real, whole book.
Book and
series of your life, because that's really, really incredible. And I'm sure even with yoga and you practicing it and teaching it, your background and all of that is definitely has helped you be able to see people even more deeper, because sometimes yoga teachers just do a pose and that's it. But that's not
which actually leads me into I first and foremost, let me give you your flowers now. Ashe, masculine. Seriously, for you being able to first go within yourself, find that journey for yourself, and then be able to apply that to everyone else that comes in contact with your light. Yeah. And in that, I imagine most people would want to know what got you on the journey of yoga per se.
Exactly.
Pardon the horn, but what got you on the journey of yoga? How did that incorporate? Because you clearly were into helping people's mental health, or helping them contain themselves or be able to contain themselves with being able to deal with the day-to-day type of situation. So what got you into yoga? What was that thing?
Well, yoga was an evolution. Before I got into yoga, I was into holistic health. Before I was into holistic health, I was into African consciousness. So I think as a young Black person, a young person of African descent living in Chicago, I was always aware that I was Black. I was always aware that I had African ancestry. From an early age, I was interested in books. When I was about in 4th grade, I think I read my first book from cover to cover that wasn't a school book. It was called The Rise and Fall of Adolf Hitler by William L. Shirer. And for some reason, I was just interested in all this type of historical stuff, But I remember reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, Man Child in the Promised Land.
Okay.
The Choice by Samuel Yet. You know, so throughout my throughout my late grade school era and my high school era, I was reading many books. At I read the the book by Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. I read that book when I was in high school. I went to a place called the Topographical Center in Chicago, where we had political education, and learned about the different forces that were being used to oppress African people, Black people. So I had a lot of experience. And then when I turned 21, I decided that I wanted to change my lifestyle from an unhealthy lifestyle, because even though I had this sort of an African or Black consciousness, from a political and a historical, social perspective, I still was engaging in eating the wrong types of foods and consuming other type of things that were unhealthy for me. So so the day after my 21st birthday, I decided that I was going to change my diet. I didn't really know anybody who were. I became a vegetarian, a vegan. I didn't know anybody who was really a vegetarian or a vegan. I just decided that this was going to be the path that I needed to take. And so I went to the health food store that happened to be close to my house, and I found a book by Dick Gregory about, I think it was called Cooking with Mother Nature. Then I found another book called Why You Shouldn't Eat Meat, that was published by the American Vegetarian Society. Okay. And so I bought a lot of fruits and vegetables. I bought a lot of herbs and honey and distilled water, and I took it home, and I went to the fruit market and the vegetable market, and I bought a lot of different vegetables. I was going to cook them, but I didn't really know how to cook them. So I cooked up a pot of vegetables mixed up together and with some water and some tomato sauce, and it tasted really bad. So I essentially became a fruitarian, because I didn't know that there was yeah. I didn't even know that there was a such thing as a fruitarian. Okay. But but that's all I could eat was just fruits, nuts, and seeds. And I made herbal teas and juices. And then after about a year of being on that type of diet, I was still in college, and I met somebody who was doing yoga. And so she persuaded me to go to yoga class with her. But the class was nothing like what I expected. So the class was, I expected to see like a little Indian man, but the class was being taught by a brother who was like 6'5", and he could do, he was from Chicago. He could do all these different movements and postures, and he was very smooth with his personality and everything, And so that made me, but the main thing was that he told me that he had a lot of health issues, that he had an issue with his body structure that he had corrected through his practice of yoga. And so at that time I was very stiff, because I didn't do yoga, I was, when my health regimen was fitness. So I would run about 5 miles a day. I would do push-ups and sit-ups every day and things like that. But my body was more on the stiff side. So when he told me that he had achieved all the things that he did through his practice of yoga, I said, well, if you could do that, then I can do that. So then I dedicated myself to the practice of yoga. And I would practice yoga for 8 to 12 hours a day. Wow. And after about 2 years, I had mastered just about everything that I wanted to master in the physical aspect of yoga.
So with that being said, when we speak about yoga, because it's so vast and now it's been broken down in so many different, divisions, that sort of thing. And we know this is an ancient practice. What would you say is the one thing that most people should actually know about yoga? About yoga. I have my own, perspective on it. And like you, definitely did 7 hours. I was for 2 years straight, I was doing 7 hours, 5 days a week. And 5 days a week, I was so embodied in that. I'll get back to me, I'll digress, but go back to what is that thing that people should know about yoga from your perspective?
Well, first of all, I want people to know that yoga is only one part of yoga is the physical part, the movements, the postures, the breathing. That is one part of yoga. So even if you look at the traditional Indian model of yoga, they talk about the 8 limbs. And one of the 8 limbs or the 8 parts of yoga is what they call asana, right? And so that's movements and postures. But modern people have made yoga simply being stretching. So number one, they do not, so number one, they do not practice the movements and the postures properly because they think of it as stretching. They don't think of it as, when we say movements and postures, we're talking about moving with the breath. Your body, when you practice yoga, your body is an extension of your breath. We use the breath to take us into and out of the postures. And we use the breath to go slowly in and out of the postures with control. And we also use the breath along with the movement in order to circulate life force and energy through the body. So we're not just simply stretching. Okay. So that's one thing.
Okay.
So when you're doing the movements and posture, you have to understand that you must base everything that you do on controlled deep breathing, and using controlled deep breathing to cause the energy to rise up the middle channel of the spine, to come to the crown of the head, and to then come to the middle of your forehead. And then on the exhalation, to move the energy through the arms into the hands and down the legs and into the feet. And we see this circulation, we see the indication of this type of circulation when we look at ancient Kemet and we look at the king and we see that he has this snake that comes through the middle of his head and it swirls around in the middle of his forehead with the snake's head coming out. So that's an indication that that's how energy and life force moves through the body. Okay. And so we use that as a model for understanding our practice of Kemetic Yoga. But the other part of it is to understand that even though the movements and postures are very important, it's the entire cosmology and worldview that you adopt. It's your diet. Modern people, they go to yoga and they say, oh, we're going to have a wine and cheese tasting after class, right? This is outside of yoga. If I'm going to do yoga, I want to keep my lungs healthy. I want to keep my lungs clear, and so I'm not going to put cheese in my body. Okay, I'm not going to kill my brain cells with wine. I'm not going to pollute my bloodstream with the sulfites and all the other stuff that's in the wine. So we have all of these different things that we continue to do which are unhealthy, and then we call ourselves yoga practitioners.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now that's a good one. I got to jump in here again. So now, with all that being said, too, because we're still talking about basically it being commercialized, capitalism, to capitalize on something that's trending, that's da-da-da-da, and you use it to bring people in.
Yeah.
When we speak about those that may practice yoga from a commercial aspect, because it's cute or it's trending or this sort of thing. But those that tend to want to really go deeper into a form of interconnection with the self, because for me, yoga came about because I wanted to go deeper in my normal spiritual practices and find a way to control my emotions with the things that were happening around me very rapidly. And to a point, because of course I'm entrepreneur, doing different things, of course, by myself, raising a daughter, this sort of thing, a lot of stress, a lot of buildup, going through a lot. And in my practices, which I'm sure you understand when we're talking about scaring or our altar work, ancestor work, things of that sort, I needed to have something else to harness that energy and then direct that energy in, that I could bring myself down, a form of grounding, that form of grounding, as well as levitate and be able to operate in that higher self when I'm not actually functioning, doing, the actual practice, yoga, this sort of thing. When you say, because there's a lot of people that do yoga. I've seen people, I do yoga, and I'm just like, what is this? But their energy is a whole nother, it's just like, we all have our moments.
Yes.
We all contain, I know myself, I will have patience as long as I can. And then the next minute, correction has to come. Mama Legba, or Mama Yamoja is going to come out for correction. It's just how it is, right? But I found that yoga for me not only helped the centering even more so of self and breath, and my movement was not just me being, let's say, me being a past model or doing modeling before, teaching this, teaching women etiquette and that sort of thing. It went so past that state of inner standing of the self. Because when you teach people to model, you teach them how to stand, how to posture, this sort of thing. The posturing was more internal for me. The posturing was so internal and deep that it opened me up even more vast. With what you said and the people that I've seen that do yoga, and it's like, honey, you're doing commercial yoga. This is cute. And you think that's because the posture, internal posture, the aura that you get to see on a person because of how they move, what they're eating, things of that sort, it doesn't line up to something that you've done yourself. I always tell people yoga is quite personal because it's what you're willing to do with that discipline and how far you're willing to go into yourself to pull something else out that you haven't discovered within yourself or allowed yourself to be. And in that, my question is, what do you think about it's kind of like a stigma, kind of that women are the only ones that should do yoga or are doing yoga? What's your...
Well, there's a lot there. Yeah, there's a lot there. It's just, it's just silly. I mean, that's all I can say. It's just silly. If I'm a male and I'm gonna say, well, only women should jog, or only women should exercise, only women, or people say stuff like, I'm too stiff to do yoga. That's like saying, well, I would like to get in shape, but since I'm out of shape, I'm too out of shape to get in shape. So therefore, I won't try to get into shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, it's all based upon the idea that yoga is just stretching. If you think yoga is stretching, then you're gonna then you automatically have an excuse to take yourself out of the game.
Okay.
Because you don't have to think. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to do anything, because the question has already been answered. Yoga is nothing but a stretching exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would I want to do yoga if all it is stretching?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that people do not understand what yoga is. They just see the external manifestation of it.
Exactly.
And yeah, and then yoga is being taught. It's the way people are teaching yoga. It's the way that they're learning yoga. They're learning yoga in a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yoga is yoga teacher training, yoga in the fitness industry. What they call yoga, it fits into the part of the fitness industry called mind body, of which you have yoga is number one, then you have kickboxing is number two, and they call this mind body. And so all they're teaching you is how to do exercise. That you go to some place like Core Power Yoga, and they give you some weights, and they heat up the room real hot, and they tell you to do up dog, down dog, warrior, 1, 2, and 3. They got these standard things that they do. You go to Bikram yoga, hot yoga, and they got these 26 poses that you do in a row, and they say that this is yoga, and they don't tell you how to breathe. They don't teach you anything. They just reading from a script. And so people have this ingrained in their consciousness that this is yoga. What we do with Kemetic Yoga is understand that yoga, what we call yoga, is part of our entire ancient culture. It was all based upon transformation. Your reasoning and doing your movements and postures is for the purpose of internal transformation, internal transcendence. And if you think about it in that context, you will see that the entirety of African spiritual science is based upon transformation and internal transcendence, transcending your consciousness from the restrictions that the physical environment places upon you.
I say,
right?
Well said.
And so that's the goal of yoga. That's the goal of all African spiritual science. How do you have this? How do you achieve this transcendent experience? How do you live within your physical body, but also experience the spirit world? When you do your meditation, when you do your movements and your postures, you should put yourself into a state of consciousness where you are experiencing the reality of life outside of the physical boundaries.
Say it.
When I go into the Sahu pose,
say it,
which people call corpse pose or savasana, right? We don't use the term. We use the term Sahu pose because you see this position with the person who has become deceased. We modify it like this in order to make it more comfortable. But we go into a really deep state of relaxation. So we do our movements and our postures in order to allow us to then return to that state of stillness, and then to go into that deep state of relaxation, and to go into that deep state of meditation. So when we lay on the floor and we become totally still, and we just focus on our breathing, that is causing all types of physiological, biochemical changes within the brain, within the body, and within the energy field of the body. We're changing our electromagnetic energy field. We're changing our vibrational frequency that we're vibrating into the universe on. and we becoming a different person, and we start to experience things. We start to experience those aspects of the universe which are normally not accessible to us when when we are just in our normal state of consciousness.
Exactly.
So if you look at Africa and you look at the different rituals that African people do, and they achieve a state of trance, they achieve states of transformation when they do the African dance, when they're playing the drums and so on and so forth, right? They're doing this in order to achieve a certain state of trance that allows them to communicate with the world of the ancestors, to receive information from the world of the ancestors that can then be shared with the rest of the people. That's what we do when we practice meditation. And so that's the ultimate goal of your yoga practice. And so we don't eat meat, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't fill our bodies up with dairy products and stuff like that, because we trying to become a receptor and a transmitter of energy and information to allow us to change our consciousness and to experience things on another level that we normally would not be able to experience. So all of these things work together as a system. You cannot just say, I'm going to do this part, but I'm not going to do that part. It's an entire system.
Not completely, it's not complete is what I feel when even some people have said, done yoga with other people and then come and do yoga with me, and they're just like, wait, what is this? And when I say mind, body, spirit, I really mean mind, body, spirit. We're not just talking about doing a pose here. No, we're talking about you going from one dimension of yourself to the next realm. Now, you may not enter and understand that because people, as you eloquently put, people are used to the commercialized or the industrial part of this, saying, okay, this is what yoga is. And so because that has been constantly marketed out, people really don't get the depth part of what yoga can be for them in a total transformation stage, and that's one thing that for me, I've noticed, like people such as yourself, myself, my daughter, other people that are really about the self-development, the self-inner and understanding of what they want to do with their life, what they should be doing with their life, are the ones that really kind of are drawn and tap into that. And in that, we do what I call the cleanse, chakra cleanse. Now, this is something that is not, because the industry separates these things. They'll say, okay, here, these are your chakras. This is just what it is. They won't tie them together. And I'm sure you tie these together too. When you're talking about yoga, what are we doing with all of our chakras? How are we clearing those blocks? This sort of thing. Now, the application with our chakras, because of course, these are blocks that we deal with, going internally using yoga, right? And then we apply this same, going back to my previous question, as far as it only being for women, let's tap into the man, because I really am about the divine masculine. I'm around a lot of men as well as, but more women are gearing into an area that they want to be open. They want to, find themselves more. What's their next step? However, we do have male followers that are like, okay, but like your discipline is crazy. How you stay on it. But for me, it is discipline. It's determination. But for me, it's constant development, constant tapping into that self, constant just showing up for myself. It's something that we all can put on social media. We can do these things, like I'll do little clips and put it out there. But it's that energy that, listen, I'm not giving you a full hour video today, but that doesn't mean I'm stopping doing what I need to do. I'm still busy here. Here's something that inspire yourself. Okay, well, Yamaya, you're inspiring us. Now, how do I tap into those males who are saying, you know what, woman, queen, you're doing your thing here. I love your discipline. I want to get into that. how do I get into that? Some are already into it, but they want the health side of it. You know, how does this benefit the male?
How does yoga help men and their mental health? How does it support men's health?
Okay, so we're talking about yoga from the health aspect, right?
Yes.
Because like we said, so like we have established, there's many aspects to yoga.
There's many aspects,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So from the health aspect, okay, yoga helps to, in general, yoga helps with improving your blood circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So say for example, when we're doing the movements and the postures, and we're going through the different poses, right? Those poses are actually causing blood to move more efficiently through the blood system, through the venous system, into the tissues and the organs of your body. So by increasing blood circulation, you're receiving more oxygen, you're receiving more nutrients, and you're also withdrawing toxins from the cells of the body. And all of this works together to make you more healthy, right? The other thing too, which is very important, which I probably should have said first, is in terms of relaxation. When you practice yoga, you activate a part of the nervous system that deals with relaxation. So I just call it the relaxation response. So when you breathe in slowly, and you know, because you know, I'm talking to the audience, so you've heard the term, you heard the idea, like they say, take 5 breaths or breathe in and breathe out for a few minutes when you feel yourself become angry and stuff like that. That's because controlled deep breathing activates the relaxation response in your central nervous system, right? And so, so your body has 2 basic functions. It has one function which is dealing with, like, say, survival. If you're in an emergency situation, so your body is going to kick in to allow you to fight or run. That's what they call fight or flight.
Yes.
But your other function of your body, of your central nervous system, is to regulate, to allow your body to heal itself. And so the part of your nervous system, or the part of, or the system of your body, what are the systems of your body, which acts both voluntarily and automatically, is the respiratory system. You can, if you don't think about it, you're going to breathe, but you can also consciously breathe, right? So that's the only system of your body that allows you to do that. You know, your circulatory system, your heart beats by itself. You don't tell it to start or stop. But by controlling your breathing, you can affect your circulatory system. You can lower your blood pressure. So a lot of men, they suffer from high blood pressure. A lot of men, they suffer from poor blood circulation. And so that poor blood circulation leads to heart disease. That poor blood circulation leads to prostate problems.
Well, that's one of our questions. That's one of our questions, the prostate.
Yeah. So the prostate is very important, you know, obviously, because it's part of your urinary tract, and it's also part of your reproductive system. And so men have, you know, so in our culture, men have a lot of different issues with their reproductive system that may lead to dysfunctional, you know, aspects that they have to correct. And so yoga helps to correct that. You often see me on Facebook and other social media and in different things where you see me doing a posture where I'm coming like this and I'm turning to the side and I'm putting my arm up like that, right? So that's called the pose of men, M-I-N. And so what we found is that that particular posture helps to stimulate energy into the prostate gland, but actually into the heart. which in turn increases blood circulation throughout the entire body, which includes the prostate and the reproductive system. And this posture that we do called the pose of men, it also is effective for women. So say women, they don't have prostates, but they have a uterus. They have, women often develop problems with fibroids and things like that.
Yes.
You know, and so we find yoga is good for both men and women in that way. And for men, you know, we have almost an epidemic of I'm just said I have many of my male friends and relatives, they have developed prostate cancer. And you know, it seems to be almost everybody I know has had some kind of issue with prostate cancer. And so some people actually die from prostate cancer. Some people have been able to overcome it and stuff like that. But yoga helps with that. Yoga helps with the health of all of the internal organs, of which your prostate is only one. And so yoga is going to help with relaxation, lowering your blood pressure. If you lower your blood pressure, you're going to be less susceptible to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, stuff like that. If you maintain yourself, if you practice relaxation, you're going to have a stronger immune system. So you're going to be less susceptible to disease. You're going to be less susceptible to things like cancer, because your immune system's job is to identify cancerous cells that may come into your body and to neutralize them. And so when you enhance the immune system through becoming relaxed, to control deep breathing, you're going to have better outcomes in combating all types of degenerative diseases. And then when you practice, you know, your diet, that of course is going to help also.
So with the relaxation, interject there just a little bit. With the relaxation, when you're suggesting the men do some deep breathing, is there some breathing techniques that you would suggest that they could even start, even upon listening or watching this video, something that they can do to actually start to get into that mode mentally, because it's still dealing with the mental health, being able to slow yourself down, to kind of start some breath work?
Yeah.
The breathing is the most it's the easiest aspect of yoga. It's the most important and it's the easiest aspect, but it's also the hardest aspect, because it requires that you become still, you quiet yourself, and you got to take the time to do it, right? Most people say, I don't have time, I'm busy, blah, 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 blah. You know, they just have all these excuses, right? But I'm sitting up on my couch right now. I'm taking my hands and I'm going to put my hands on my thighs, right? Everybody can sit like this. This is how you see the pharaohs sit. They sit on their throne. They put their feet flat. They put their hands on their thighs, and then you just close your eyes. All you have to do is breathe in slow and breathe out slow. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. You can breathe in through your nose, and then you can breathe out through your mouth. So I would say breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth 5 times. So you breathe in, you breathe out through your mouth. Okay, do that 5 times. Then after you do that 5 times, just become still and just slowly breathe in through your nose and slowly breathe out through your nose. When you breathe in, you should feel the coolness of the air along the walls of your nostrils. You should feel that cool air in your sinus cavity. When you breathe out, you should feel that warm air. The air has been warmed by your body, so you feel that warm air leaving out of your nostrils, okay? And as you breathe in slowly, you try to focus on, I'm taking life force into my body. When you exhale out slowly, you try to focus on the idea that I am releasing tension and stress, unhealthy conditions from my body and from my mind. Okay. And it's as simple as that. You just slowly breathe in, visualize the good healing energy coming into your body, slowly breathe out and visualize tension leaving from your body. Another thing you can add to that is what we call body scan, where you just focus on your face, you relax your facial muscles. You breathe in. When you exhale, you feel your muscles in your forehead, your temples, your jaw, your cheeks relax. You breathe in again, and you slowly breathe out. You relax your neck, relax your shoulders. You breathe in again. As you exhale, you relax your left arm all the way down from your shoulder down to your hand and to your fingers. You breathe in again. As you exhale, you relax your right arm from your shoulder down to your hands, right? Relax your lower back, relax your legs. You could do this for 5 minutes, 3 times a day, sitting in a chair. It's very easy, very simple, and it will save your life. I'm gonna say that absolutely, because it's going to add time to your life, positive, healthy time to your life. Okay, I'm gonna say that absolutely, that you would actually say you can actually save your life. It might be the difference between you having a heart attack and you not having a heart attack. It might be the difference between you developing cancer and you not developing cancer. It might be the difference between you having a stroke and not having a stroke, right? This controlled deep breathing and relaxation is very powerful, okay? And so you can do it sitting in a chair. You could lay down on the floor like this, or with your hands out to the side like that, and just relax your entire body against the floor. Okay, that's before you even get into doing a forward bend. I can sit here like this. I can breathe in, and I can breathe out, and I can bend down, and I can stretch my back, release tension from my neck and shoulders, and then I can come back up, and I can extend my arm. I can exhale it down. I can extend my other arm. I can go over to the side a little bit. Just doing little simple stuff like this makes a tremendous difference. I could let my hair go back. I could let my hair go forward. I could bring my head straight. I can turn my head to the left. I can turn my head to the right. And I'm taking tension from my neck. I'm taking tension from my shoulders. I'm increasing my blood circulation. I'm stimulating my vagus nerve. I'm stimulating the carotid artery and all the other blood vessels that run between my lower body and my head into my brain. I'm increasing blood circulation. I'm making myself more alert. All of these different things are happening by doing the most simplest postures. Nobody, male, female, has an excuse for not doing these things, because it's too simple. If you could sit there and puff on a cigarette, if you could sit there and drink some Cavassier or some Budweiser or whatever, you could do some deep breathing.
Okay.
Yes.
Most definitely.
And this definitely is, would you say, a yoga, the whole embodiment of it, especially the African spirituality side of it, is a way that creates a balance in the life, right? Because all of it, because it targets mentally, physically, spiritually, it creates a balance. What did you say?
I would say that's absolutely true. But before you even worry about the African spirituality, you have to get into your breath. In the creation story of Ancient Kemet, one of the first things that occurred at the beginning of time was the separation of the heavens from the earth by Shu. Shu is the breath, okay? We live in Shu. We are surrounded. We exist in a medium of breath. Just like a fish is in water, and a fish must have water in order to live, we must have this invisible force which we are living in order to live. But
Which
we
is
take it for granted. We don't pay attention to it.
It's its form of
And so when we start to breathe, we are in essence practicing the basic fundamental principle of African spiritual science. African spiritual science teaches you about the elements: earth, air, fire, and water, right?
Right.
And so your first element has to be the breath.
Yes.
Your second element is the air. I mean, it is water. Do you drink water? Your body is 80% water. Do you drink enough water, or are you drinking Coca-Cola and Sprite?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, so you start with the elements. If you want to deal with, you don't have to go into some kind of elaborate, you know, African study. Just, are you eating properly? Are you breathing properly? Are you drinking enough water? You know, are you eating fresh fruits and vegetables? That's African spiritual science right there.
Yeah, people try to make it a bit difficult than it is.
Add more to it.
Add more to it.
When we're speaking to, because of course we have a lot of fitness people as well, so they're doing a combination. So they're lifting those weights. They're, you know, getting into yoga and meditation. If there's certain postures though, or deep body postures along with the breath. Like if somebody has, you know, shoulder pain. What is there a particular posture in yoga or a movement that a person could do that would help alleviate? Like, I know some different ones, but we're speaking to you. For shoulder pain or the back pain, someone dealing with elements or something in their leg, is there some particular ones that you use in Kemetic yoga? Or is there any other ones that you would suggest for someone who's dealing with, let's just say, shoulder pain?
Well, let me preface my answer with this. We for decades, I have worked with professional and college athletes, high school athletes, right? We work with people who are 6'6", 330-pound offensive linemen, NBA guards and power forwards, all kind of different people like that, right? So we can formulate yoga for any person. It doesn't have to be all the deep spirituality stuff. If you want to prevent injury, if you want to heal yourself from an injury, yoga will help you. If you want to enhance your mental and psychological disposition while you are in the pressure of performing your sport, yoga and deep breathing and meditation will help you to do that. Kevin Garnett said that the reason why he couldn't make it out of the first round of the playoffs is because he would panic at the crucial point of the game. And then when he started to practice yoga and meditation, he took his team to the finals, right? Because he learned how to control his thoughts and his emotions. This is the power of yoga. We teach boxers. A boxer is getting punched in the face. That's pressure, right? So how do you keep yourself from panicking? How do you keep yourself from not having fear? So we train boxers to breathe, to focus, and to be able to maintain their concentration under pressure, right? So if you're an athlete, if you're somebody who like to work out and do all those different types of things, you like to lift weights, you know, I've done all those things. I was a high school and a college athlete. So I understand all those things. I was a football player. So I understand what's required if you're an offensive lineman, if you're a linebacker, if you're a wide receiver. I understand all of those things. And I work with all those different types of people that have students who work with them, right? So in terms of particular ailments in your body, you have tension in your shoulders, you have tension in your neck, you have pain in your back. All of the different poses that we do in yoga are going to be able to help those things. You should do a basic yoga routine where you go into forward bending, backward bending, and lateral positions. and then you go into your spine, you go into your spinal twist, and you go into your triangle poses. It's so many different combinations. The skill of the yoga teacher is supposed to allow that yoga teacher to look at that person's body and to see what that person needs to do for that particular situation that they may be struggling with, right? So we train. I've trained 10,000 yoga teachers, trained and certified 10,000 yoga instructors, and so that's part of what we teach them. You know, so I don't say that there's one thing that you do for everybody. We teach our yoga teachers to be able to see a person and then to be able to formulate a plan, like sort of like a treatment plan for that particular person based upon the characteristics that that person is exhibiting, because everybody's body is different. A person could be 5'2" and 103 pounds, or a person could be 6'8" and 350 pounds. I had to teach yoga to a guy, he weighed 540 pounds, you know, but we figured out a way to teach this person. My oldest student was 100 years old, okay? And we had her getting up and down off of the floor at 100 years old. So you had to take each situation and formulate a plan based upon that. And so that comes from your experience as a yoga instructor.
Ashe, master teacher, Yirser.
The depth of all that you have said within this last hour and a half is, it should be and is, I will say it is enough for one to be able to get up off the couch, or those that are already moving in their yoga journey or their fitness journey, or even totally holistic journey, will be able to tap into some of the things that you're saying. Now, with that being said, we need to make sure that they can come and get at you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So give us all of your details.
Yes, give it to them.
Your website, social media. Please tell the audience, and I definitely will make sure to put it in the description box as well.
And please mention the tour that you just came back. So please do let them know about your next tour.
Yes, please.
Well, I have so many things going on. The first thing I'm going to say is people should come to the website. Okay. And then they can see a list of all the things that we have going on. We have regular yoga classes in our studio in Chicago. Wonderful. We also broadcast those classes by Zoom. So you can either come to the studio and take a class, or you can sign up to take the class online. Okay. We have teacher training courses that we do in our studio. Our next teacher training course is going to start in October, and you can take that course either in person in the studio, or you can take it in by Zoom. Okay. Also, we have teacher training courses starting up in Baltimore. I think that's going to start in September or so. We're going to have a workshop called Alchemy of Kemetic Yoga in Boston in early November. We're going to also do Alchemy of Kemetic Yoga in Baltimore as a kickoff for our teacher training, there. Then we do twice a year, we do a teacher training in Jamaica. We call it Healing Sun Kemetic Yoga retreat. And so that's for people who either want to become an instructor, or for people who want to just get an immersive, deep experience in yoga and spend 10 days practicing, eating coconuts, fresh coconuts and fruits and vegetables, and not being, just eating healthy stuff and getting in shape, physically and mentally and spiritually. Exactly. And so our website is KemeticYogaSkills.com, or you can just go to Kemetic Yoga, KEMETIC, KemeticYoga.com, or yogaskills.com, and you would come up on our website. I'm also on Instagram. If you just Google Kemetic Yoga, you'll find me.
You'll find you.
We're gonna make sure they find it.
Exactly.
Everything you said will be linked
in the description box because it's powerful what you're doing, and it's really
45 years. You've been doing
50 years, correct?
Well, it's approaching 50 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So, okay, so I'm 50 years old. I'm 50 years old, and look, she's 25.
I'm 25 just today. So it's my solar return today.
Yes. So, look at what she's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Happy solar return. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
She's sitting with her mama, her yay, and a master teacher.
Yes, exactly. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely beautiful. Yes. Yeah. I know.
This has been, I am sure our audience is definitely going to love this. I loved it. Yay loved it.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of blushing here.
Exactly. And also the men that actually asked some of these questions, Zulu Kenols, with Zulu Fitness, Brandon Wilson and Anthony Jones. They asked some of the questions, and I'm sure they got very much enlightened answers to it. Should be satisfied with it.
And connect. Please do connect.
Yeah, well, we see each other all the time on Facebook, so I'll stay connected on there. And whenever you come back to Chicago, make sure you let me know.
Most definitely. I am coming to the studio.
Hello. Yes, most definitely.
To the studio.
And I found out, I have a connection with Spain too. My great grandmother came from Spain.
Oh my goodness! Can you tell us briefly about what you know?
Well, my great grandmother, she left Spain a long time ago, over 100 years ago, and she moved to Jamaica, where she met my great grandfather. And so they connected together, and they produced my grandfather, and then my father, and then me, me and my siblings. So, so I have a connection with Spain.
And you haven't been to Spain? Have you not?
I've never been to Spain, and so I intend. I have a friend from Cuba who I actually helped to escape out of Cuba when I was there. It wasn't that dramatic, but I did.
Wait, because we okay, that's another show.
Yeah, that's another show.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was a medical doctor. He wanted to leave, so I helped him get out of Cuba, and he came to New York, but he wound up in Spain. I think he's in Barcelona now. He's a really good brother, and we have a really deep spiritual connection because during my time in Cuba, I went to see a Babalawo, and I went to see the Babalawo, because they still practice traditional African spiritual science in Cuba. And when I went to see the Babalawo, I needed a translator. So this brother was translating for me because I don't speak Spanish that well. And when I was receiving the reading, his information was in the reading too. So he was being, certain information was coming out, and I would say, that doesn't sound like it makes sense to me. But then he said it makes sense to him because the information was for him. And in one of the rituals, I closed my eyes. I wanted to give some protection to my children. And in one of the rituals, I closed my eyes and I envisioned all of my children's faces, and there was another face in there with my kids. And it was of this light-skinned girl, about 6 years. I saw this girl in my vision, and I described it to him. He said, "That's my daughter."
Wow. It's beautiful when that happens, though.
Wow.
So I encourage people to really understand what African spirituality is about. It's not about no hocus pocus, all this kind of stuff,
Out to be. Yeah. Most definitely. And again, now, if you're going to come over to Spain, you definitely we need to know about all that. We need to get together. We just need to do.
Well, it's, you'll be the first people I would tell when I'm coming. I'm ready to come. I have to find out because I've never been there. So I've been to other parts of Europe, but I haven't been to Spain.
Oh,
So I'm definitely gonna go there, and I'm gonna look up my relatives. I'm gonna ask them some questions about
yes.
why did they cut off my great grandmother when she married this black man in Jamaica?
Okay.
There's a lot of spiritual hubs though here in Spain that are not so much talked about. There's a lot here.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, there really is. I absolutely love them. Of course, people have to be willing, open, and receptive to receive that. And I definitely feel where you're coming from when we're talking about, just being able to tap in, whether you're speaking to a babao, this sort of thing. Just the orishas, the whole embodiment, and not just take it for face value, but do your own research. Yeah. Attach it to the self. I did that with my own name and realized, wow, look at all this history that was passed down, and then to see all of the correlations and the similarities of my own life and how it's comes. I always say I'm ancient. I'm 50 in this casing, but I'm quite ancient. I done came back a couple times.
Yes.
Clearly, we need to learn the lessons and keep it going. Keep it going. I appreciate you so much.
Most definitely.
So much. Awesome. And again, my cheeks are kind of hurting back here because I actually just got to have one of my things, my little special things come true. Yes, so
exactly.
You're here across. We're going to see you in person.
Yes.
And so all of you that have bared witness to all of us three, in unity, moving forward on our own spiritual journey and self-development, you need to tap in for yourself first and then impact others to do the same. I'm Empress Yemajier. This is my heiress, Jacqueline, and we are with the Master Teacher, Yirser Hotep. Have a wonderful day, loves. Ciao for now. Besito grande, Master Teacher. Ashe.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.
All right. Ciao.
All right. Peace and love.
Oh.
Hotel.
Bye.